1996. Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Celine Dion, Los Del Rio, producing songs that are skyrocketing up the charts. Tom Cruise, Cuba Gooding Jr., Renee Zellweger. Produce Jerry Maguire, capturing the American imagination. In geopolitics, the Taiwan Strait controversy elicits some attention. Side note, the Taiwan Strait controversy is not the topic of this episode, although it is quite interesting. What precipitated that was Bill Clinton gave the Taiwanese president, prime minister, leader, I don't know what the correct nomenclature is, but the number one Taiwanese government official, gave him a visa, Clinton did, to visit some grad school reunion at Cornell. And this pissed China off. So much so that they're sending missiles over the Taiwanese Strait. And America responds by sending aircraft carriers, battleships, all because of a visa, all because the Taiwanese leader went to a grad school reunion. Also in 1996, a new technology, the internet, is gaining popularity. And to increase the availability of educational and informational resources to American citizens, to offer a forum for true diversity of political discourse, unique opportunities for cultural development, myriad avenues for intellectual activity. Congress passes the Communications Decency Act. One of the provisions of the act is Section 230, which will guide the regulatory framework for all of the internet platforms that became some of the most powerful companies that have ever existed. Google, Facebook, Twitter. But these companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars today were but a twinkle in the eye of entrepreneurs in 1996. The tech industry at the time was nascent and fragile. Only 100,000 websites existed. And the industry was reeling from a court case the year prior in 1995. Stratton Oakmont Inc. versus Prodigy Services Company. Stratton Oakmont ruled that an internet platform was to be held responsible for all content on its service if it chose to moderate anything that users created on its platform. So if there was something objectionable or illegal that a user posted on an internet forum in 1995, and that internet forum blocked publication of that, it could be held liable for defamation, trafficking, and a host of other crimes perpetrated by users of its platform. This created a moderator's dilemma. An internet platform could either moderate objectionable content or illegal content, but that would open it up to liability, or could go laissez-faire on it and just allow users to post anything and everything that they wanted. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act eliminated the moderator's dilemma introduced by Stratton Oakmont. Specifically, Section C2 related to civil liability for internet platforms. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected. This provision of Section 230 gave internet service providers complete immunity regarding the content hosted on their platform. Any action taken in good faith to restrict access to material that is objectionable, whether or not that material is constitutionally protected. In 1996, this made sense given the status of the tech industry at the time. But 25 years later, this immunity is still in effect. Realizing that Section 230 was crafted in an era that is no longer applicable to the modern reality in which we live, the Department of Justice in 2020 released a report, Section 230, Nurturing Innovation or Fostering Unaccountability. Key takeaways and recommendations. In the report, the Department of Justice recognizes that the immunity granted in Section 230 is overly broad and open-ended at the moment, and recommends that the vague terminology present in the legislation be replaced. Specifically, the phrase otherwise objectionable be replaced with unlawful and promotes terrorism. While I agree with the aim of limiting the immunity of internet platforms and of encouraging open discourse and transparency, I wonder about that phrase promotes terrorism. Given the polarization that is present in our public discourse currently, I worry that disagreement can be conflated with terrorism. And that sounds a little ridiculous coming out of my mouth, or at least it feels a little ridiculous coming out of my mouth, but I think our country has perpetrated some grave mistakes with the purported aim of fighting terrorism. And I worry that if this recommendation from the Department of Justice is taken up, that legitimate criticisms can be categorized as promoting terrorism. Put more succinctly, who gets to define what is and is not terrorism? What does and does not promote terrorism? Politicians are focused on winning elections. And, I mean, they wouldn't have their job if they didn't win elections. So, you know, it's understandable. But again, when politicians equate their opponents, their political opponents, to enemies, to villains, it's not that far of a leap for those politicians to declare that those who oppose them are terrorists. Okay. Let's take a quick time out. 20 seconds. Catch our breath. Maybe do some light calisthenics, clear our mind a bit. Let's get back to it. Okay, so Section 230 provided the regulatory framework for internet platforms, still in effect today. Overly broad, way too open-ended. Fast forward 25 years, 26 years, and Meta, Facebook, is pumping billions of dollars into the metaverse, into the VR headset. And what I would encourage you to think about is what data is produced by using Meta's VR headset, and how can that be used or potentially abused. You've got the apps that you install on the headset. If you have conversations, you've got that dialogue. It's able to be captured. You've got eye movements. You've got the layout of part of your home. And this sounds sinister and suspicious. But Meta has shown an ambivalence to the negative consequences of data sharing. I think it's affected mental health. I think it's impacted faith in our democracy. I think it's greased the wheels of awful atrocities around the globe. And the company, Meta in this case, has done little apart from apologize and promise to do better. And that's not good enough. So, VR headsets can run the risk of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Individuals on the Facebook platform have given the company data, and they've used it with impunity, partially because of the immunity granted in Section 230.
to be in your spot must be insanely difficult. To have, no matter what decision you make, you're going to have a giant chunk of people that are upset at you. And there might be a right way to handle it, but I don't know what the fuck right way is.
Well, I think the right way is to establish principles for governance that try to be balanced and not have the decision-making too centralized.